there seems to be a little more disconnectedness in some respects. And part of it is we all are living in our own individual worlds much more, right? I kind of just observe when I'm going and you see, 80% of the people now in the coffee shop are sitting like this as opposed to sitting like this. Yeah. I go to the museums and you kind of see that same sort of dynamic. I'll tell you, Nashville, I went a couple weeks ago, and they've got the National Museum of African American Music. And I highly recommend that you go. This dude's raising his hand. That place is dope, right? And I heard about it, but when I went, I was like, this is amazing. And the digital platforms that they use for teaching, educating, informing, and they got this dance room. I think I got voted like best dancer of the year, something. Anyway, but I mean, it is a fascinating place to go, and you see the connectedness in that community. Similar in Detroit. I went to the Wright Museum in Detroit, same sort of dynamic, but you can also see that they are wrestling with how they connect to the power that those communities brought. Detroit in particular. Martin Luther King gave an "I Have a Dream" speech that you all have heard, but the backstory behind that was that was in August. In June, he was in Detroit, and that's where he first delivered the sketches of that speech. And when he showed up in Washington, D.C., he had a completely different speech written. And Mahalia Jackson, the mother of the civil rights movement, said, "Martin, tell him about the dream. Tell him about the dream." And he abandoned the speech that was written and basically went to that place, right? There's that kind of heritage that sits in our communities that is not lost, it is not forgotten, but I can see the elders trying to figure out how do they re-embrace the youth to understand that spirit of progress and their role in that. Because, look, the elders, they've got the wisdom, the experience, but they don't necessarily have what I call the legs to get out in the streets anymore, right? And I was so proud, and I have to tell when at the time, we were getting into COVID, murder of George Floyd, how these young people got in the streets, okay? We hadn't seen that in a long time, okay? The elders are kind of sitting back, oh man, this is messed up, this is again, okay? And these young people are like, well, no, we ain't standing for this. And they got up and they went out in the street. You know what I mean? And that showed me that there is that hope, that people are going to continue to drive forward on what they think is right and what they think is just in the treatment of Americans. And I was very proud of our people for doing that, our young people.